Hello class 7 student. Today I am going to discuss in this video about tense. In the school I taught you about tense and it was in the basic form, and I asked you to learn and the structure of the tense. So today I hope so through this video your learning will be clear enough. Before going to tense, I want to tell you that to learn tense we need to learn the verb, because it is the verb that we are going to define inside the tense, and whenever the verb is going on we need to learn the three forms of verb. And these three forms of verb are present, past participle. You need to always remember, today we are going to discuss through active voice. Through only active voice I will make you understand about the voice in a different video, but for today we will discuss only about the active voice in regards to tense. Here, if we go through the present, past, future, in short we term the present form of the verb as verb 1 and past form of the verb as verb 2 and past participle form of the verb is verb 3. So always remember these terms. We need to understand about verb 1, verb 2 and verb 3. Now as we go through it, we need to understand few more things in tense. First of all, persons are of two types, singular and plural. And singular and plural, again the persons are been divided into three forms, that is the first person, second person and third person. So the first person that we go through it, we know that it is I and plural we. The second person, it is always you and it is termed in both as plural. Always remember there is no singularity of you. The third person that we use, that he, she, it, and in plural they. So in these things we are going through it as singular, plural, and the person are of three forms, that is first person, second person and third person. So taking care of these three things, two things, the forms of verb, that you need to learn the forms of verb. What are the forms of verb that I have already mentioned? That is present, past and past participle. At least there are about more than 150 verbs are there, and you need to learn this form of the verbs by making. So it is very important, if you don't learn the verb, the three form of the verb, that is present, past, participle, it will be impossible to learn the tense. So again another things which is quite easy, that is person, learning about person, that is singular and plural, two types of person, and three forms are there in person. In singular, first person I, in second person you, in third person he, she and it. And in plural, first person we, in second person both you, first person, second person singular and plural, both you is used, and in third person in plural they is used. So let's start with tense. So we need to understand what is tense. Tense means time, and when we go to the time, suppose an event is going on and we need to define at what time the event is going on. So always remember that the event now that we need to define, that is present tense, that is present, and some event that we define that is going on earlier, that that happened earlier, that is the past, and something that is not happen and it will happen afterwards, after some time, after today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, so it is called as future. So these are the three types of tense are there, that is present tense, past tense, and future tense. Now you can see that as before, the event that I am using now, it is written in a middle, before the past tense and later the future tense. So actually the sequence is like this: present, now, what happened before, it is past, what will happen in the future. But we are writing in an order. We are writing present tense first, and then past tense, and then future tense. So why we need to write? Because the most tense that we are using, most of the time the tense we are using is the past tense and is the present tense, is the present tense, and after that the tense that we use is the past tense, and future tense has a place, but it has a very small and narrow place in determining and defining the future tense, in speaking, in talking, in day-to-day activities. So in day-to-day activities, what we are experiencing the present, so we need to study the present first, so we are writing the present tense. So in this regards, we are getting tense of three types, that is present tense, past tense, and future tense. Present tense, which is happening, which happens now, today. Past tense, yesterday, that happened earlier. And future tense, which will happen tomorrow. But defining an event as present tense or past tense and future tense is not over. Why it is not over? Some events are there though it happens at the present tense, but it may go on, it is going on, but it has finished just now. Again in the past tense, it happened earlier, but it was going on earlier, that is yesterday it was going on. So to define precisely about the tense, again these three types of tense are defined in four forms. All the tense are four similar forms, that is indefinite, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. Perfect continuous is a combination of perfect and continuous tense, so we need to join together. So what will be the structure, we will understand later. But here for present tense, if you want to define, for present tense there are indefinite, present indefinite tense. For present tense there are present continuous tense. For present tense there are present perfect tense. For present tense there are present perfect tense. So in this way, if you go through it, there are past tense. For past tense there are past indefinite tense. For past tense there are past continuous tense. For past tense there are past perfect tense, and for past tense there are past perfect tense. So in future tense, it is very negligible to learn about the future tense, but we need to learn. If it is there, we need to learn. Same thing, the future tense has all the remaining thing like future indefinite, future continuous, and future perfect and future perfect continuous tense. But it gets a very little space in learning grammar through future tense. But present tense and past tense is the most important that you will learn. In future, when you are going to learn like narration, that is direct and indirect speech, voice or whatever, while composing an essay or letter, you need to understand properly the tense. If you don't know tense properly, then it is very difficult for you to compose your own answers or write your own essays or stories in your grammar. So it is very necessary to learn this present tense. And before learning the present tense, as I have already mentioned, verb is necessary to learn, and there are about 150 verbs not less than 50 verb, 150 verb. You have to learn all the three forms of verb. So let's see how the verb 1, verb 2 and verb 3 is defined in this way. If I write verb 1, verb 2 and verb 3, so if I want to say go, do, play, cut, bring, in this way there are about more than 150 verbs that you learn. If we define in verb 2, that is past tense, it is went. In past participle, it is gone, do, did, done, play, played, played, cut remains similar, bring is brought, and brought. So to understand verb is also again divided into two forms, that is weak and strong. So you need to understand which one is the weak verb and weak verb. The types of verb, it will be discussed in a separate video in regards to verb, but still the basic form that you learn about verb, all the verb, three forms of the verb of each and every verb, it is necessary to learn, memorize. Without your memorization of the verb, we cannot finish the tense. So I am repeating again and again to learn the verbs, the list of verbs necessary. List of verb, it is very necessary. So let's start to define about the verb properly and also about the tense. So verb need to define in tense. So in present tense, that I have already mentioned, there are indefinite, continuous, perfect, continuous. So if you need to read out the structure, to memorize the structure, it says that subject plus verb 1 and then it ends with the object. Always there are agreement between the subject and the object with the verb. So we need to understand these things. Then in continuous, there are subjects, something are added which we termed as verb, but they are auxiliary verb, that is adding to the verb, which help the verb to define the particular tense. These are am, or, is, or, are. Very necessary, this thing. Plus verb 1 is used, as I am mentioning shortcut, the present form of the verb, and again we need to add ing, then plus object is there. Then in perfect, we start with subject, we need to add have or has. So there are certain criteria using have and has. So this thing will be discussed later of using have and has, and also same thing with am, is, are. Then we need to use verb 3. Always remember, in active form of the verb, only in perfect tense verb 3 is used. Don't forget this. Then object. Similarly, in perfect continuous tense, we need to add continuous and perfect tense. So to add, we need a different kind of word to add it. First of all, have and has is used, which define the perfect. Then again we need to add been. Then again defining continuous tense, defining a continuous tense, verb 1 plus ing is used and object is used. So in this way, the present tense has the structure of these three of these four kinds of tenses which is defined. For example, if you go for an example, if I say he plays football, this is example of indefinite tense. Continuous tense, I am playing football. Perfect tense, she has done the homework. And in perfect continuous tense, Ram has been doing the job. So it is clear. I hope so it is clear in regards to the present tense. So this is form of the present tense. In the next class, we will try to complete the past tense and the future tense as early as possible in only one discussion. So for the time being, I hope so you will share and you will understand. If you find difficulty, then just ask me.